right now, you can see the snow curve. Well, you can't really see it because it's all the way on the floor. But if you look back last year, which was a very good year, you can see that for whatever reasons, the lines, let me point to them up here, these lines are the 30-year normals, what's happened on average over the last 30 years. And with changes in terms of late warm temperatures and other things, we are not seeing any snow accumulation early, but we make up for it during the winter time with heavier precipitation. So we hope that this isn't an indication of a bad year at this point.
We went through several years with a lot of early snows and got zero.
And we got zero, right?
And last year, it makes, you know, if you're gonna get a certain amount of snow, timeliness is very important, and the later it falls, the better off. So.
Yeah, there's a saying that we on confidence in predicting these forecasts is that you have 100% confidence that you have no confidence between now and around February 15th. So February is about the first time we have any level of confidence in the snowfall.
You're right. You know, it might turn out to be.
And really, it's more like May before we really know. I know that's late, and it's causing
like
problems.
when it's in the dam, we know it's what's going to happen.
Well, that's the second part of it. Getting it from the mountains to the dam is complicated. I know one of the things that we've been doing to help the farmers, and I know some of the board members have been at those meetings, we've been presenting I give a talk about, which puts several people to sleep, but I still give it, about how we go from this curve, or these curves, hundreds of these curves, to try to figure out how much is going to be in the reservoir and what the sequencing of that is. And I think we figured out it's 82 steps. It's that complicated. I think there's 82 processes.
No wonder they go to sleep if you tell them 80.
I don't tell them that there's 82 steps, but I break it into 3 big chunks. So basically, get into the snow up in the mountains, get it out of the mountains into the reservoir, and then get it out of the reservoir into your farms. Done. We talk about those 3 steps, how we get from the mountains to first get it in the mountains, how we predict that, and then how we get it in the reservoir, how we predict that. And once we got it in the reservoir, how do we predict getting it to the farms? And then I turned it over to Robert, who goes, how do we get it? I do it to the diversion dams, and Robert has to say how he gets it from the diversion dams to the farms. So.
Get it to Arch Turnout.
That part would be,
That's never right. That was never right.
I stop at the river. Robert and I have a pact, right?
Hey, this is a little aside, but real quick, I don't want to make a big deal about it, but is there been continuing any talks about moving the gauging station back down to where it used to be?
Oh, that's a joint project with EPCWID, so we have that discussion with the commissioner periodically. I think it needs something to get off dead center, because we've been having that discussion for what now, 10 years, I think.
About the one at San Marcial.
Yeah.
Because I vaguely remember, tell me if I'm wrong.
You guys authorized.
We think we would have a better feel for it.
You did a joint letter about a year ago, I guess, and authorized, or maybe 9 months ago, authorized, I think it was about this, in February of last year, authorized both EPCWID and this district, for both advisors to the allocation committee to do the analysis, and of course, that hasn't happened. So, I mean, partially has.
Well, I just wanted to ask, because Art's paranoia, that I'm convinced that above there's a lot of theft going on too. I mean, I think that would help us.
Yeah.
If we got that gauge back.
The general indication of the data show that that as you fill the reservoir, it's really to our disadvantage. I mean, it could be as the reservoir drains down from being full, it's to our disadvantage.
But when it's full.
But as we fill it, it goes to our advantage. So when we want to switch the gauges, I guess I would say just one until it's full, and then we switch. So.
And it's not only the amount of water they use, but it's in irrigation, it's the amount of water that those trees are sucking out of the ground too. Yeah. You get a lot of return flows that hit that river in that area that
the biggest one that we didn't realize historically, you guys remember from when the reservoir, some of us might remember when the reservoir was full, back in 2002 or whatever, or not full, but had a significant amount of water.
On paper or something.
Yeah, so what happens is, from it being full for so many years, I guess it was more or less full for many years prior to that, there had been a huge amount of water that had been pushed out into the alluvium adjacent to the reservoir to help be in And that started to once you drop the level, then the water starts to seep back in, and that all was just a windfall for New Mexico. So you remember all those credits that were generated, we're saying, hey, we don't see the water coming into the system, but yet it's showing up at the reservoir. A significant amount of those credits we feel was from the gauging issue. So historically, those would have all been ours. We would have paid for what seeps out, and we would have paid for what seeps back in the original compact.
We just pay for what seeped out.
Well, they got, the problem with this thing is when we need the water, we get less. That's when they get the benefit, and when we don't need it, that's when we benefit, so we need to reverse that back to what the original.
47% of it.
Yeah, we just need to go back. I think the gauging states that San Marcelo is accurate enough now. If not, we can make it accurate enough, and we just need, Jim's pointed out many times on the compact that the Engineers Advisory Committee and the Commissioners didn't have the authority to modify the compact. That requires ratification by Congress and 3 states. So what they did was I don't know, Jim, how would you describe it? An engineering note, I think is what it's called in the compact, but they just said because of the floods of 42, that it destroyed the railroad and caused problems with that metering station, that they were going to prepare an equivalent engineering method to the actual metering of the water. Well, that's never been changed. We've never gone back once we fixed the problem. And so you could say that technically is not legal under the compact. They should, once it was available, to go back to the way the compact was initially. And the issue with that is very profound because we talked about before is they changed the index tables from Ottawa and San Marcelo. San Marcelo had an index table, and what we did is they reduced that index by I believe it's on an average year, like 170,000 acre feet to prepay for the evaporation that they thought would occur in the reservoir. Okay, so when the reservoir is low, there's much less evaporation, but the prepayment doesn't change. When the reservoir is very high, there may be that much evaporation, and it's paid for in advance. So that whole process is fairly extensive in terms of its effect on the compact. And so, but at this point, we haven't had, I guess, we just have to convince our commissioner that that's something that
Needs to be taken to issue. Another lawsuit.
you probably could expand the one that got to cover it.
I was gonna say, why didn't we include that in this one?
Because we're not controlling the lawsuit.
Right. I used the word "we" very loosely. All right. Anything else, Al?
Unless you have any questions, that's all. I mean, we can go over the status of third-party construction, that's Jay's. We sort of already did most of
I
that.
think most of them, obviously the famous bridge, most of y'all have noticed, a lot of upset residents because
Oh,
of the
boy.
detour.
And I noticed it the other day when I went around there.
Had to go back.
They're moving fairly quick. They poured concrete yesterday on the first abutment that holds the beams up, they probably poured again today, but they've demolished everything. And they hope to, I guess, on last Wednesday's meeting, the meeting, progress weekly meetings are Wednesday morning. As of last week, they said they should be hanging beams by December the 8th. They were probably gonna be delayed because of the manufacturer on delivery, but that seems to be going ahead of schedule. And as Mr. Reyes mentioned, the shotcrete for the Franklin Canal, and obviously the one placing the Franklin Canal underground. And they just started to mobilize on that. They're taking a little longer than anticipated, but Kiewit and Abrams are mobilizing. And we had another project over here at Ted Richardson's Con Valley Estates. They bored underneath the Isla lateral last week. DH underground did, and they passed our lateral, and everything went well there. We've got another large 60-inch board going underneath the Franklin Canal downtown in San Marcial. It's a stormwater project El Paso Water has. So that was approved last year, and they had a delay on it, and they wanted to start the bore in March. So we let them know they couldn't do it because it was fairly large. But they have dug the pit, so they should probably start penetrating underneath Monday next week. So everything else is going as planned.
Wasteway 1 and Wasteway 2, which I think you mentioned. A lot of big jobs. This one, I think they're almost, from David's reports to us, they're almost out of our flow prism here, aren't they almost done with?
Yes.
They're picking up the debris today, I believe.
They've removed all debris and then taken it off, yes. So they've got minimal work inside the channel. So they're pouring, like I said, the abutments, and they're gonna bring in a crane in next week to start mobilizing the crane. They're gonna set the crane between the canal and the drain, so that way they can operate it for both sides at one location.
So we don't, as far as Robert's impact, come back in January, that project's almost already has zero impact on it, which what we anticipated was they promised to do the work in the flow prism first,
Right.
so that we could occupy the canal as quick as possible.
15th, I guess that's the deadline Robert had discussed, and we conveyed to them that by January 15th, we want to be able to send water downstream to the tornado. So they're good with that.
All right. Anything else? And that, Pedro, you're on.
Well, right now, we're finishing up some of the projects that we left incomplete during water season, that being one of them. This is a crossing that we did a couple of months back. I don't know if you guys recall, for a truck hit the wooden bridge and knocked it off, so we went in there and put a culvert in, and so we went out there and did the concrete both on the upstream side and the downstream side. We're doing all the cleanup this morning, getting all the debris out of there. So that's just one of the projects that we finished up. Just a little bit of a couple of pictures on the drains as we continue to work on these drains pretty heavily. This drain, I was trying to get it ready just in the event that we needed to put water in there during the Christmas holidays or anything else to divert water down on the riverside. And we're about 80% completed with it, and you'll see on the pictures here kind of what it's looking like after we're getting done with it. That's all the same drain. That's the river interceptor drain. The next one, Jake. And then we'll go out there, remove all the debris, and it looks pretty good. It actually looks pretty good, so we can carry some water through there and divert there by San Wasteway 1 back into the riverside if needed. This is a couple of city drains that we're also working on. This is the Mesa drain, just downstream from Loop 375. And we're also, here we had a whole bunch of washouts due to the rains that we've had here in the past couple of months. So we're just finishing up this drain also. That's the middle drain over just below Loop 375 also. So right now we're hitting the drains pretty hard. This one here is the middle drain at Moon Road. We ran into a couple of problems here. One being the water line, which Lower Valley Water District went out there. They pretty much removed the water line, and well, actually these are gas lines, I'm sorry. These are gas lines that Texas Gas suspended over the air, and that's the water line. So they went out there, installed valves, removed this section here, which they'll put back once we put the pipe in. But down in the bottom, we ran into a snag to where there's a sewer line that's right at our flow level. So I had to order some special pipe. I had to order some arch pipe to be able to accommodate the pipe and also give me the area to carry more water through the drain, because I had a 36-inch pipe. We went ahead and ordered it's an 82 by 60, so it's a fairly big pipe. But we'll be able to lay it right on top of that sewer line.
Is that pressurized sewer? Or is it forced?
Gravity.
Gravity flow, yeah, gravity flow sewer. And that pipe should be here, what I was told, by either today or tomorrow. So I'm hoping that we can finish this project sometime next week. This is another one of the projects that we left during water season. This is on the Saneni Main. This is a wasteway that goes into the drain, goes under Chicken Ranch Road. So we had to kind of abandon this until water was out of the system. We went in there, replaced all the pipe, backfilled. County will pay for the pipe, being that it's under the road. And this job has been completed. Go to the next one, Jay. Riverside, this area here, we need to pour about 200 feet of concrete to over the top of, is this One Oak, Jay, or is it?
This is One Oak.
One Oak. For One Oak, we will get reimbursed for this this project here also, so we'll be doing about 200 feet of concrete here. We've got a total of 4, so there's 800 feet of concrete that we need to pour, hopefully before January, we're already to put water back into the system. 1 on the Riverside, 2 on the Franklin, and 1 on the Island Feeder. We're working on this one now.
And these are all reimbursed by One Oak. As soon as we finish the lining, we're gonna invoice them and per the license agreement they signed.
Go to the next one, Jay. Now, this is the Franklin up there where Jay and I were speaking, and Mr. Reyes, about TxDOT at Delta. All this section here will be put underground with box culverts, and then we'll go in there and do the shotcrete. But just to kind of give you an idea how much sand we're having to remove. Keep in mind that this section here, we dug it out last year. We went down to the grade of the flow line.
Oh, they come to that river. When you put it underground, it's just gonna move it downstream.
Right. That's what's gonna happen. But see, hopefully, by narrowing this channel, we'll get out of the, I guess, past eucalyptus to where we can actually get to it a little easier.
Yeah.
This area here is real hard to get to.
Yeah.
You going, Jay? That's Delta right there that you see upstream. That's the first set of tracks. And Jay and Al are working with the railroad to try to redo those culverts to 1 cylinder, correct, Al?
Yeah, well, we're, just so they're self-cleaning.
Okay.
Whatever ends up, we can do, yeah, I think we can do it at 1. That's, the best Jay and I can figure out, goes way back, that land is, in the deed, we have rights back to 1859 or 56. And so the railroad came in a few years after us, so that's one of the few spots we own. So,
And there is 3 crossings there that,
yeah, there's 3, they've been very problematic. They were put in the 20s, right? We think for the
Yes.
marks on them, and
Yes.
they were done, I guess, the engineers have forgot the water likes to go in a straight line. And so they're making some fairly abrupt changes to the direction of flow, as you can see in that area, which causes all sorts of problems. We lose one of those culverts every year, right?
Right.
We clean it and it just, within a few months,
Yes.
because it's a eddy current issue. It means that the water slows way down inside that one side and drops the sand out. It works pretty good as a sand trap, not as a culvert, so.
as you can tell. And we'll be doing, this year, we're hoping to do from Delta, from where the culverts stop, all the way to that first set of tracks that you saw there. Hoping to get railroad to do something with the culverts, and then we can continue downstream all the way to eucalyptus, hopefully by next year. And again, just to kind of give you an idea of the sand that we're moving out of there and taking out of there. That bank there, we've got that warehouse they built it right foot against the channel, or the toe of the bank. So over the years, the bank has kind of gotten wider, and now they're complaining that they want us to dig all the dirt alongside the building there. So once we're done with this, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go in there. There is actually a changing fence there. I'm gonna dig about maybe 2 feet of the bank and roll it over away from the building. Okay. That's all the sand that we're hauling out of there. We've been hauling sand out of there, I guess, for the past 3 weeks, Jim?
Yes.
Are you taking it all to the Riverside yard?
No, actually, we're covering up areas that we no longer need. So what we're doing is we're removing good dirt and backfilling with sand.
Okay.
You'll see on the next couple of pictures of what it's coming, what it's looking like after we've raised the bank. We've had to raise the banks about a foot. You'll see that little stake right there. That's the height we need to be. Once we go in there and compact it a little bit more, we should drop it down to what the design is.
So that, you're hauling that dirt in?
Yes,
Yes.
we're hauling this dirt in, hauling sand out.
Great, that looks like pretty good dirt.
And this is the part of the concrete line channel that we're gonna have to actually narrow, because we're gonna go down to about a 10-foot bottom. So we're having to close the channel quite a bit to try to speed up the flow of water. Now here, I'm gonna go ahead and continue working on this area, then I'm gonna go ahead and pull out. I'm not gonna finish this area until TxDOT completes their boxes. That way I can tie into their boxes. And other than a little bit of cutting the trees and fixing some cement lighting, that's pretty much all I got. We're just pretty much gearing up for the big jobs.
That's a big job. All right, Pete, any questions of Pete? Great job, as always, Pete.
Pete, those box culverts, are they gonna get stuffed up with the sand too, or what? What's gonna happen?
Hopefully not. I guess Al could probably answer that question.
Yeah,
better
no,
than I can.
TxDOT paid for, we made a presentation to you several months ago, they paid for us to do a hydraulic analysis to come up with a self-cleaning design, so that was part of their application fee. We spent, 3 months, 4 months working with them to come up with now we have a similar design downstream there at Fox Plaza, right? That we've
Right.
done with them before, and we haven't had any problem there. So we're taking, on the same canal, we're taking a similar design. We're actually making it a little bit more, a little bit higher velocities because we've got the head, the elevation of water in the canal allows us to use that to keep it self-cleaning. When we've been down at Fox Plaza, we didn't have much head. And so it should be actually better. And so we're hoping that once we get this done and next year or the year after, what's that, total 3 new culverts, about 600 feet underground, that we won't have to go back in there except occasionally, right? But remember now, for all of these crossings, even the new ones, the burden is on the TxDOT to keep it clean. So if it doesn't clean, they'll be the ones that have to go in. And then these are designed to access, like you said, a low head, low height, whatever bobcats we have available, they're made to be able to get a bobcat in.
You're not trying to tell me they're self-cleaning, huh?
Well, they are.
They are?
We get the velocity of the water high enough so the water carries the sand out.
So they don't accumulate that big sand pit that
Right,
accumulates.
it'll accumulate, like Johnny
Drop it
said,
later.
it'll accumulate downstream.
After the country.
In your yard.
Yeah, there's some truth to that. Well, what we have in one of our designs that we were working with the city in the zoo, which fell through, and maybe it'll come back at some point, we had designed a preliminary, a concept design for a big settling basin down where he could get his trucks in, down closer to the zoo, so it wouldn't go into your yard. So
Right.
all that would go to a location where we had easy ingress and
Scoop
do
it up.
loaders, and we had some extra right of way, some extra room. Remember that historically, the Franklin Canal is our smallest, one of our bigger canals, yet it's has the smallest right of way, right? From that's because it dates back so long ago. They were, I guess, back in 1956, they thought 60 feet was a lot. So, and since everything was done by hand, it probably was quite a bit, right? So now we would prefer to have 100 feet would be nice, but 80 would be a lot better than 60. We don't have it.
Do you have a list of projects for the upcoming fiscal year?
Yes, we do. We actually got a list and we've got the five-year
Five-year
plan.
plan, right, but for this year, do you have an itemized list?
Yeah, we have the,
Yeah.
this year, the 5-year
What's
plan.
planned for the month of October, November, December, January, and so forth?
No.
Wait, that's called contingency.
We have it between October and March 1.
Okay, so we have a big list,
Right,
and on this list, we hope to finish this by the year next
yes,
year.
yes.
Uh,
And pretty much, like for example, the Franklin Canal, I'm pretty much gonna wait for TxDOT to do the boxes. Once TxDOT finishes those boxes, then I'll go in there. But the majority of the work has been done to what I need to do, I could probably knock it out in 2 weeks.
Could I get a copy of that list?
Yeah,
Sure,
yeah,
that would be
yeah.
good.
I think it's Mary's.
Very good.
I noticed on the budget plan and so forth, under these project improvements, we had a budget, but we didn't spend the budget. I believe that there was quite a bit of money that didn't get spent.
Right.
And now just my thoughts, we were diverted to do something else instead of doing that.
Well, we had, keep in mind that we had the issue with Comanche pipeline, and
Okay.
all the other stuff that the failing of the canal that we had to concentrate on and so on. So we didn't. We left some of the projects, like the I-0 head gates, we left them halfway done. We did the concrete work. Pete's going to go in there and finish it out this year. But we did as much as we could during the off-season irrigation, so.
No, and that's justifiable, it's just doing the big picture. If we're not gonna do it, we're not gonna do
Yeah,
it. It is what it is.
and no, and we're trying to save money where we can.
I think it's a little more complicated than that, and Miguel's right. So, we had last year a 5-year plan, we had year 1, this is actually year 2
Well,
of the
see
6-year
where
plan.
I'm going with this. In other words, I'm trying to get this in a more sophisticated manner where you have a 5-year plan, and each year you have so much stuff to do.
We do.
And if for whatever reason, we're not able to do this first year, whatever we can do, it's just gonna bottleneck to the second year. And then we don't do what happened the second year, pretty soon we're in the 4th year, and then we're like, what the heck happened?
Yeah, that's what I want to talk to you, that's not what happened, that's
No, I
not.
understand that,
But we have a list, Mary can provide you of all the projects we completed, but what you're saying did happen is that, and Mary and I have talked about that, is that budget is just for materials. And so, we hit the labor budget, we hit the equipment budget, we got the projects done, all but one, I believe. We got 95% completion on that list, yet we were off on the budget for the materials by significantly.
significant.
Yeah,
I
so,
mean,
so this issue came up during our budget process, we discussed it a little bit at the last board meeting, so you're right. It still is a little bit puzzling to me why our materials are so off if we got the projects done. I know that Pete's very resourceful and that we might have used materials that were left over from the previous year. One of those problems is we have no way of tracking that, so the new software system we're setting up now starts tracking those things so we can account for, everything goes into the job, we can see where it came from. If it came out of inventory, out of a yard, we're supposed to track that. Now, yeah, obviously, if you generated a purchase order, or that had to show up in the numbers you had, but the number of purchase orders were unusually low for the amount of work we accomplished. Does that make sense?
yeah, I mean, you just gotta toot your horn. I mean, you're doing a bang-up job. Show it on, that you're doing a bang-up job, and you save all this kind of money. I mean, that's.
Yeah, and she's got what we did when we did the 6-year plan now, because we're into after the 5 years. We showed a summary of all the completion of all the first year of the 6-year plan. So Mary gets you a copy of that too, to show you all the projects we did complete. And we pretty much, there was one, I think, that we didn't get done. One check, I believe, we deferred.
Well, we replaced it with the Stallings checks,
Yeah.
which we did complete, or we did pour the concrete and everything, we just didn't install the gates. But the structure's done.
So we had it 50%, so but I believe we.
And the gates are done, all I need to do is go install. So they are done. And one of the things that see, some of this stuff on the 5-year plan also is based on work that we'll be doing during water season. And a lot of the times, those projects, which are the ones that can pretty much be done any time of the year, we kind of put them on the back burner when other emergencies arise.
Right.
Which is some of the projects that you're gonna notice that are still there, that'll carry from one year to the next.
Right, in the business we're in, there's always gonna be emergencies,
Right.
there's always gonna be lawsuits, there's always gonna be these things. And all I'm saying is, be open to the idea that that's
Right.
reality,
Yeah.
and that I'm a proponent of maintenance and doing whatever it takes to stay on track to keep up our infrastructure, and don't deviate from that. And if emergencies come, then we address it, eyes wide open, it's like, okay, this was gonna happen, we're not gonna be able to do it this year, but you know what, at least we know that, and we can put the resources where we can, either before the year's over or the first of the following year, at least we're going to that, with that concept. That's what I'm.
In fact, I'm gonna recommend to Alice to change the name of the 5-year plan to a 5-year plus plan. We'll use a plus for whatever we didn't finish in the 5 years.
Slash wish.
Well, I thought you meant you were gonna do more in 5 years.
We'll try.
Good job.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. You're not gonna talk about water, you don't have any.
That's good. No, but that was famous words. Yeah, every morning he said, "Yeah, Robert, yeah, leave me alone." 'Cause, you know, because water season just looks like next year is going to be coming in March, so I kind of get on Pete every morning and he said, "Yeah, leave me alone, leave me alone." But because we do have to get ready in a lot of canals, but like we're saying, like I was saying, you know, the snow looks bad, but I think on the positive way, seeing up there north, there's a lot of water starting to come into the butte now. I think Albuquerque quit using their water. The positive thing I seen this year, the river's been still pretty wet, and they're still 50 feet of return flow. Too bad we can't use it up in past years. As soon as we cut off, the river goes dry. And this year, there's still 50 feet coming into El Paso, which would have been great. We could have still used it. So, and then the positive thing is, come January, like Jay was saying, we're going to be running return flow compared to the past couple of years. We've been running water. We haven't run return flow until March. So this year will be by the middle of January. As soon as the orders come in, we plan to start running water, so we'll keep the system wet. I don't think that the American Canal will be given to us, Jay, until March, right?
American, February 15th.
February 15th.
When do you think would be a good time to have a farmers meeting when we'd all be ready to kind of share all this? The farmers, January?
January or the 1st of February? To give you-
Probably,
Well,
Do we have to-
if we're gonna start return flow the 15th of January, we'll probably have to have a meeting about the second week of January.
Yeah, we need to have it.
The thing is, what I think they're more concerned is, when is the first release gonna occur? And
Although we did touch base with these farmers meetings that we had last month, we did mention to them what the schedule was.
we've already developed a target schedule, we got together, and so I would suggest, I would prefer no earlier than after the board meeting in January, so we could actually set the release date and set the initial allocation. I think it was the first time we'll be able to do that.
Yeah.
And then, February is fine too, but it's, if we have it, let's get the word out.
Yeah, no, the quicker the better.
soon as, I guess, like I said, as soon as y'all meet in January, see if the snow improves.
It's mainly is to see that the water we already have is in the reservoir in
Yeah.
January.
What do you figure out? I figured that by probably March, there'll be a pretty good amount. If it's coming in the way it's coming in now, it's pretty good water in the butte.
Well, we would look, I think I did a guesstimation, right, where we said 3 feet
Of our carryover.
in February, and we said we would expect sometime in May to go to 4.
4-foot rubber.
Even,
Robert wanted
He's back.
I'm back.
EBID.
I never left.
EBID sent their numbers yesterday, they're carrying over, they're estimating 43,390.
What was their allotment, 8 inches?
I think they went up to a foot.
No, they went,
Foot and a half.
they went to 2 feet.
They went to 2.
24. They ran into.
When they do that, in 1st of September?
August.
No, July.
They went to the end of September,
Yeah, they walked, but I mean, when did they go to the 2-foot allocation?
right at the end.
Yeah, in August, I think is when they went to 9.
That's all right. It's fine.
I think that's about as far as they can go, because a lot of people have already pumped 24 inches, and they can't go over 24. So, that was no mas.
All right.
That's it, I'm just helping Pete out as much as I can on the winter maintenance.
He said that you'd have him a lot if you go on vacation.
If you
What
want
is
some,
that? And then I leave, but then he calls me, when are you coming back?
but before you leave, sight his rifle.
I checked him out for tracks, any evidence, any deer.
I figured it out, he don't have a rifle, I saw what he did last week, he took a slingshot.
We're shooting cats.
No, but we're okay. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Robert. Okay, no action on 10, number 11, some applications for licenses.
Yes, we just have 3 on the agenda, and actually 2 of these are renewals, the first 2. Application 1968 is on the screen. This gentleman had a 15-year, or has a 15-year license that expires here next month, and so he applied for renewal. He owns those acres. That's right here behind Wholesale Lumber, Fortaleza. So this is a culvert. He constructed this culvert back in 2002, 2003. And he submitted his documentation for a renewal for a 25-year license. He's provided everything. I guess he was gonna develop it in Lower Valley, something happened with the water and sewer, so he still, he came in and submitted a letter as requested in the existing license, so, prior to the expiration date, 60 days prior, and reviewed the documents, and engineering recommends this application for renewal.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve application 1968?
So moved.
That makes a motion, Lindor second.
What page?
It was something that was negotiated in 2003 between the board. I think it's fairly high. It's 8,000. This particular one's a renewal, so we left it.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
It's,
So we got a second, Lindor second, and all in favor say aye.
All I'm saying is, it is a resolution, so.
Yeah, it's in the,
Yeah, it's
I have the packet.
I have one. 11B is another renewal on behalf of Conatillo Independent School District. In 2007, the board approved the license for Conatillo ISD to utilize the Borderland Spur drain to provide water and a sewer line to the new school because there were no facilities. The city limits ended at Borderland Road, and the school is right north of Borderland. So they constructed a sewer line and a water line running in the bank of the Borderland Spur drain, which has been filled in, to the school. And the anticipation, I guess, was that, it's where the cross, the white, yeah, the X is there, that's the school. The anticipation was that the county would provide facilities, water and sewer, along West Side Drive by the end of the 10-year license. Well, we're here now and they've not done anything. So the lines, the water and sewer lines run up and right here in this bank, from Borderland Road down here.
We normally don't allow those anymore
Right,
to run parallel with our deals, but this is renewals.
it was a renewal, and the drain is, it's been covered up for the most
Yeah,
part.
that's-
I mean, there's not much farming around there, but,
And it won't be a factor during the flood?
No.
that's what it's raining.
Flood use?
We still have, on the opposite side of Borderland Road, we still have an open channel where we can actually channel water through there, underneath the road and through the open channel.
Yes, right.
This is, if you recall, this is a school that was built, it's the Garcia Elementary School. And they were hoping that those developers that are building all those homes were going to have sewer and water hookups. And it was delayed because of the FEMA issue and all that. So we allowed them, or you all allowed them. And then right there
We're not
where,
gonna make them take it out now, I mean.
Right.
no, plus they don't have anywhere else to go with it.
That's what I'm saying.
normally it would have been a 25, the board approved an exception at their request.
I guess they requested.
Yeah, they requested a 10-year, so we're going with
The
25.
reason we like the 25 is that
And then where that arrow is right now, that's all their FFA project that they have, that they're building on, of which, you know, we're supporting them heavily on that by letting them come in through our Borderland Spur drain, where they're building a barn with their 18-wheelers because of the issues of the county of El Paso narrowed West Side Road and built a median, and so now they don't have an entry to go in there with their 18-wheeler to, the majority of this is going to be alfalfa.
It's alfalfa, it's already planted in alfalfa, so they requested an ingress and egress for agricultural purposes, along the Borderland Spur drain.
So they're really pushing their FFA program, of which,
Is George Brooks involved in that, or
Is George Brooks still?
No, it's
What's his name?
Ron Ginn.
So we're adding an additional permission to the license from the renewal part to, they had ingress and egress for maintenance of the water line, they've always had that. But we're adding ingress and egress for that truck traffic.
They just want to tear up
borderline.
You have-
No,
They're
it's
our
deep
problem, it's
enough,
not our, and they have
and
to,
it's deep enough where.
and if they damage the road by.
I was gonna say that, I mean, how about liability in case
Yeah, there's 2 million in
There,
insurance.
there's insurance, they've got an
you
insurance
think they
policy.
have an accident and
Yes.
bus or whatever?
Yes, we've got all that covered on our license.
It's not, there's no ingress and egress for the bus.
No, that's
No,
not, I
it's
didn't
just-
think so.
Right.
Not
No,
for the
it's-
bus.
Just for agriculture.
They're not going to use it for any bus traffic,
It's
school
for
bus
agriculture.
traffic,
Just for the farm.
for the FFA
Yeah.
program.
The license.
Which historically, if it had been the farmer, of the taxpayers' use, we wouldn't have required anything to have ingress and egress on that because it would have been access to their field. But in this case, since it's a nonprofit or it's a public entity, we require to have a license.
We're down to 3 FFA programs in the, El Paso County, which is
How
sad.
many left, are there?
Yeah.
I thought a few acres of cotton would be good so that they could experience picking cotton. So. Like we all have.
Think about wanna be farmers?
I think that would be a good idea.
Think about wanna-
So they provide all documentation, and engineering recommends this application for renewal.
So moved.
Second,
Been moved and seconded, we approve application 1980. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion carries.
And the last one, application 1976, is again by Cantera. They're the folks providing the internet to Eastland ISD, it's Socorro ISD, and El Paso ISD. And this is for an aerial crossing on Loma land across the Mesa Drain. It's a single fiber optic line. And they've been, this is about their 28th application, so they've had quite a few. But construction's been going well, and they provided all the necessary documentation and necessary.
They've got several, how many licenses do they
About
have?
28 now.
Yeah, it's a bunch of them.
So, yeah, they're providing fiber optic, which is certainly, it speeds up the internet and capacity, so they got the contract. So engineering recommends this application for
Using existing,
existing Paso electric poles, yes. It's spanning across the entire right of way, they're not, poles aren't in district right of way or anything, so it's an aerial crossing.
And they meet the engineering requirements, 14.5-foot clearance. and that's
This is actually a
12
20, so yeah,
They're higher than our.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve application 1976?
So moved.
Aaron makes a motion.
I'll second.
Dar seconds, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay. Well, I guess there's nothing under item 12, no action, so let's go into closed session. I want to talk about some of the legal issues that are going on. There was an email yesterday, we discussed it today, is that the